And shalom, everyone, shalom. This is Deacon Sampson, one of the teachers with King James Bible University. And I'm coming at you with a public service announcement to let it be known, clarified, and understood that we at King James Bible University have no dealings with, no ties to any Christian organization, any building, worshiping, or gathering organization, no pseudo-Israelite camp group, no type of satanic affiliations, no pro-black, pro-movement organizations, anyone who falsifies the word of God and takes it out of its pure form, we are not associated with, tied to, or have any allegiance with. Please know and understand that King James Bible University, its elders, deacons, and brethren are sanctified and hold strictly to the guidelines of the Word of God in its pure form. And we do not in any way, no shape, form, or fashion, have any allegiance, fellowship, or ties to any of these preceding named or titled groups. King James Bible University stands alone in its teaching and respect to the Word of God and obedience to the instruction and commandments of His Word. This has been a public service announcement by me, Deacon Sampson, and I bid you all shalom.
Heavenly Father, JEHOVAH, JEHOVAH our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, I humbly approach your throne this day, recognizing that you alone are the source of my covering, my spiritual nourishment, and living water that sustains my soul. And I come to you on this Sabbath day, a day that you have sanctified as a token of your completed work. And I, Father, I offer myself unto you in obedience and reverence, seeking your mercy and guidance. I seek these things in the words of JEHOVAH that you have sent to me. And you said through your prophets, but who may abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like the fuller's soap. And Father, today I am willing to submit myself to your refining fire with your purifying power. That I ask, Father, to search my heart and examine my thoughts and reveal my hidden impurities within me, and remove the dross, the impurities of my pride, my vanity or disobedience that you may find. I ask that you separate me from the dwelling fully of your presence, dear Father. I say, Father, JEHOVAH, you are my shepherd and my guide, and your words are the bread of my life. And your statutes, your commandments, are the spiritual substance, even as the psalmist declared, how sweet are the words unto my taste. Yea, they are sweeter than honey to my mouth. I earnestly desire to be fed continually by your wisdom, your understanding, that I may grow stronger in spirit and become ever more steadfast in obedience to your precepts. So I pray on this Sabbath day, in the words of JEHOVAH, I recall the finished work, how you have rested on the seventh day after creating the heavens and the earth. Sanctified this day as holy unto yourself, so I ask to grant me rest from the worldly distractions and the turmoil of the fleshly desires. I ask that you purify my mind, purify my heart, that I may fully honor you, Father, this day, delighting only in your presence and meditating upon your righteous judgments. So I ask, O Father, to prove me, to test me to be as gold refined in fire, that my faith and obedience might stand firm and remove from my life, Father, anything that displeases you, and grant me the grace to surrender completely to your divine will. I ask, Father, make me an instrument of your peace. Make me an instrument of your truth, your righteousness. And others who see may be glorified by your holy name. So I say this, Father, in the words of JEHOVAH, who you sent. Just as you dwell among us as the father of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, manifesting your power, your promise, even to them, let me also dwell in the midst of your glorious presence. As you have guided them, I ask, Father, to guide me also. As you have sustained them, I ask, Father, to sustain me also. May my life be acceptable in your sight, and may my Sabbath offering, Father, of obedience, in praising you with joy only unto you. I thank you, Father, for hearing even my supplication and covering me with your mercy, and improving the spiritual nourishment and the living water that sustains me each day that you have given me. May my spirit be renewed and strengthened by your presence as I continue this journey of faith and obedience unto you. Oh, Father, I pray this. I pray this only in the name that you have sent. The name should always ring through my mouth, through my heart, and through my mind. The name, Father, is JEHOVAH. JEHOVAH I pray in, and JEHOVAH is the only name I will ever pray in. And I pray this in that name, Father, Jehovah. In Jehovah I pray. Amen. And shalom, everyone, shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I'm the pastor here with the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel and also with King James Bible University, bringing everybody over to the house of Jehovah. And today we have a few announcements, and then we going to get into the lesson. But we have to still address something, and this is why I do things. I like to do them swiftly when things come up. And for whatever reason, these things continue. But this comes with the territory. We have to understand that. And I want to make sure that everybody understand one thing, because this one young man, he was going to bring forth to myself and 4 other elders some proof of I was supposed to have written something for him. He changed the narrative, but he did something. So what I did, I brought up this remnant of Israel, showing each and everybody exactly what happened because he disrespected Elder Lynn. Now, it was things we knew ahead of time. One, everybody was notified at 6 o'clock of a teaching that he was brought forth, but he separated himself from the house of the Lost Sheep and as well as King James Bible University. We're fine with that. We have no qualms with that. But he chose to do something because we're making sure what's going on and what should happen. And this is why we make sure these people do these things, and they shouldn't be doing them as a whole. So what we did, we spoke to him, and we asked him plain and simple exactly what happened. And he said he pulled over and he was going to show us some text that I constructed for him, which again was not true. So he took to the media, which is something we made sure that wasn't clear. So I'm showing you this. We have it. So what happened is with the 4 elders and myself, the one that you see on the left is the one that he sent. It's the same one that you see on the site, showing that I'm still didn't construct it. But then he put this over to social media, the one on the left. And he said that a false accusation was told of me about the bio was given to me by the same person. There's a couple of things that I want you guys to pay attention to the bio that you see over there. There's certain things I wouldn't put in there. And this is why I like to make sure things are straight when we do what we do. Because even myself, I'm a master of Hebraist. That's my profession, of biblical law. So the same thing with concerning Emmanuel. Even with his unauthorized public claim and the representation on what he did, he falsely attributed me to this authorship and an endorsement of this biography, which explicitly is misleading, because all you got to do is look at it. And it states his qualifications as an expertise in the domain of Paleo-Hebrew of biblical law. But such false statements, claims, defamation, misrepresentation, and unauthorized appropriation of the Hebraist profession. and even carries the spiritual authority that goes with it. And specifically, we have to look at this. He published these statements and claims the expertise in the studies is written in Paleo-Hebrew, that what he does. And then he also has in there these profound lessons and studies in biblical precepts. That's an issue too. So with this, as he do with the preceptor and comprehension inside the Hebrew language, each of these claims falsely implies showing a perception that he poses the Hebraist mastery and authoritative credentials within the field of Hebraist studies of biblical law. That's the issue. So his credentials neither holds or he have legitimately acquired. But at no time have I ever authorized, endorsed, or wrote such verbiage for him, the contents for his biography to put there, because then I would be misleading you for him to have that there. Then I will wholeheartedly be misleading you. And then he also chose to take this to social media, constitute indirect defamatory misrepresentation, falsely asserting that I provided and constructed this such biography. Again, applying deceit on my part. So during the meeting of the four witnesses, we talked to him, and we requested him to produce the evidence which he said he was going to do. For whatever reason, he still have not produced it. But he explicitly indicates that I did it. So his intentions shows evidence, but he failed to do what we asked and what he actually said he was going to do. So while he want to correct this on social media, and then he also put in there, God is my salvation, not man. That's true. God is no respecter of persons. But he need to understand his invocation of this truth to justify his deceptive actions constitute an abuse of spiritual truth and demonstrates a profound disregard of integrity, accuracy, and lawful conduct. And with such misrepresentation, it damages the integrity and trust that's an inherent legitimacy of Hebraic scholarship that was taught for the past 400.5 centuries. So Emmanuel further our unauthorized representation. He do these false claims and all these defamatory statements. And all we request is one thing, to show it. That's all we ask. We not asking nothing more, nothing less. He said I wrote it, show it. He said I sent it to him. All he had to do is show it, and he chooses not to show it, or he don't have it. He could have posted it. Then he went on. We have another one, and I want to show you that one. You have another one to where you can see here. I'm going to sit there and see if I can enlarge it. And I can enlarge it. And that's one reason I had to exit the Psalms class a little bit earlier. But I'm going to sit there and see. And now we go here. So you see here, he wrote all this stuff. And he continually doing this. So this is why when you sit there and you do things such as this, and you guys be able to slow it down later, because the one who did this, he just running through. But the main thing is this. I want people clearly to understand where I stand and what I hold to. This is what I'm dead serious about. So with this, and with this claim that he has here, and he's saying that all this has happened, all he has to do is show it, and it is literally done. But this is what I ask, because this here, I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to try to create soap operas. I'm not here to do reality shows. I'm not about none of those. So I request this. To anybody who tied to that and tied to his channel, this channel over here, I ask if you part over here to disassociate. in all shapes and social media. Why? Because I don't want to hear. I don't want anyone coming to me, oh, he said this or he said that. I'm not about confusion. So you just disassociate. You unfriend his channels and everything else, and we move forward. Because this is not a reality show, nor this is a place of confusion. So this is my request to you. This got to stop. Because all you have to do is one thing. All you have to do is have the text. Something he cannot produce. But now back to this, what we got to do. We have this thing that's getting ready to go down, and a lot of stuff is happening. And we have some new teachers that's coming up. So we going to be welcoming over what's happening. We have Brother Barrett, who will be a teacher. He'll be coming on tomorrow, but we have a couple of other ones that's coming behind him. We have Brother Ned, who'll be becoming a teacher over here, where you'll be starting seeing their videos this week. We have another brother, Brother Tremaine, will be another teacher. That'll be here, starting this week. We have Brother Edwin, another teacher, that will be coming here. So we'll be seeing this as these brothers coming out and they putting in this work. They're going to come out here and help us work this field. And I appreciate each and every one of these brothers that's coming on. And just a kind of comical thing. Brother Ned, he got told on. He was doing them already. We didn't know he was doing them. But he was telling one of the deacons. And the deacon told on him. So it was kind of funny on how that happened. But I want to congratulate these brothers. So all these brothers you're going to see during this week. And then same thing, we're going to be doing some things back in Zoom to where I want to make sure we have a schedule to where you can see what times these brothers is teaching as we move forward. Also, we want to be looking at Passover 25. Make sure after the Sabbath, if you're not having did the thing for the room, make sure that is taken care of because we're trying to take care of that. The time is coming close. So we want to make sure all that is taken care of. So we'll be looking forward to each and every one of you guys for that. But I do have a question. I do want to make sure. I'm going to sit there and see if I can put this up here real quick. And I'm going to put this question there. 1 second. Let me pose this question I want to pose here. Yeah. Let me see. Give me 1 second. And here it is. Let me, 1 second. And let me see. We have, let me see, we got, and we have, okay, so what I'm doing here, and how many people think that they are operating? How many people think? Let me put it this way. I think people are operating at. Okay, that's it. That's it. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a poll here. I got a poll I want people, and we don't know. So it says, how many people think, what percentage are they, I kind of still did that wrong. It says, well, I've still put it because I was typing, how many people think what percentage they are operating at? And we just want to see how many people, what percentage before we get into the teaching. What percentage that people think? And we're going to, so people, if you want to be in this, we can't see what it is, but we have people who really don't know what, which one it is, but we just want to sit there and put in. So we only have a few hundred people, but we can make sure that this is done. So I'm trying to get this done and see how many people we gonna come up with. How many people we gonna come up with? And that's what I'm trying to see. That's what I'm trying to see. How many people? So we looking at this and we looking, and right now I'm gonna get ready to shut it down in 1 second. Get ready to shut it down in 1 second. So I'm gonna give people maybe about 30 more seconds, and we're gonna go with that. About 30 more seconds, and then we're gonna move forward. So we let that go. We got more than half. So I'm gonna end this poll. We're gonna let it pop up. So we got 71% of the people saying, 71% saying they don't know, 30% saying 19, 60% saying 7, and we got one. We got one operating at 100%. Highly interesting. So even the one from the 100 to 60 and the 30. My only question to you is this. On what percentage or what rating scale of the Most High you operating on? That's something for each and every one of you guys who did that. The 100, the 7, and the 19. Where are you gauging this as? That's my question to you. This is why we got to really understand what's going on with this lesson today. So we got somebody operating at 100%. I don't know who it is. But the main thing is we got to understand what's going on. Same with 60 and 30. This is why it's very important. We got to be pushing always for the 100. But we don't know what his scale is on how he sees this. So what we got to do is remember that each and every one of us, if we operating at 30, we have to be pushing, because we don't know what his scale is. We don't have the slightest idea what his scale is. So don't mess around thinking you're operating at a percentage and you missed the mark. That was the purpose of this, because we don't know. So 71% of the people, they understand, we don't know. They say, what about you, Elder Johnson? I don't know. I don't know what mine is. I got to keep going. I got to be 100% in. But what we have to do is understand what's going on. So last week we went through something. And we're going to try to take the time and make sure people get a very good understanding. So make sure you have your pens, your papers, your pencils, your paper, because we getting ready to put in some work. We're getting ready to put in some biblical knowledge work. And hopefully everybody's prepared to where we're going to do this together. Because we are here together. We got to consciously reject becoming ensnared with fleeing deception and seductions of this new digital age. Vanities, amplified one by social media, short-lived philosophies of men, empty distractions, devoid from spiritual nourishment. So we are convened here not to indulge into intellectual vanities of this world, but speculations that they yield not eternal inheritance, but rather, one thing, to humbly approach Jehovah's eternal throne, abiding in the sanctity of absolute truth, building upon our reflections from the previous lesson that we went through on last week. We got to seek a deeper comprehension of Jehovah's sovereign governance in his conventional relationship explicitly revealed through his sacred text. So we got to understand within this we can say celestial governance of Jehovah, this vivid symbol that we're going to be getting into way later. Not in this lesson, but about Ezekiel will, where it lies the divine principles of this heavenly order and examination and this sanctification that we have to do. So this degree is operating throughout creation, clearly separating sacred from profane, and is symbolized by uncompromising purity, affirming that no impurity, no defilement can ever pass beyond the gates of his eternal habitation. So we want to get started. We want to look at this as a whole. And I want to show you this as we start going through here. And remember on last week, we're going to pick up where we left off at, but we're going to go a lot deeper. And I want to highlight this. We're going to look at this, make sure everybody can see it. And then if I need to, I can stretch the other ones. But remember what it said. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Foundation. This is the definitive divine constitution. I want everybody just write that down for your spiritual understanding. Just say constitution. This is exceeding the mere sentiment of a poetic inspiration, but it set forth this explicit legal term for citizenship within Jehovah's kingdom. So this clearly describes the precise inspection process and binding the conventional promise. So we look at this visual similitude that was visually illustrated that we've seen with Abraham when we looked at that in Genesis 22 and 13. We see that here. We can see it. We can understand it. And it says, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and remembered behind him a ram caught in the thickets by the horns, and Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. We see it. So we have to look at this. Abraham unwavering obedience and Isaac humble submission. So this is coupled with this divine, what we remember the last time, this substitutionary. Remember we talked about that. Substitutionary. There was a substitutionary round exemplifying Jehovah's foundational principles of inspection, surrendering, the substitutionary atonement. So an innocent life offered in exchange for the guilty. Everybody follow me. I want to make sure everybody's going to stay with me on this. So we offering an innocent in exchange for the guilty. This innocent ram was in the place where Abraham, only son, visually mirrors Jehovah's provision of his only son, the ultimate substitution. This divine parallel magnifies the gravity of substitutionary atonement. It emphasizes the sacrificial fulfillment, this divine love. We'll see this. Let's look at something in Romans. We're going to look at this in 5:8. We got to look at these citations to pay real close attention to it. Romans 5:8 tells, it says, but God commended his love towards us in that while we was yet sinners, all of us was yet sinners, Christ died for us. So while we was all yet sinners, Christ died for us. Came inside our bodies. So this ram was crowned with thorns. This prophetically symbolizes how Jehovah's chosen vessel, even with Yahweh Jesus, whatever one you choose to use, who endured what men was doing, punishment willingly, the same was the ram, innocent, shows the magnitude of this divine substitution, confirming that his life intended for judgment was not merely preserved, but it was divinely exchanged, obligating this transformative living for those who are spared. We want to make sure we understand what's happening here. So let's look at this a little bit better to further clarify this, to make sure we can basically get it where the dogs can grab it. This immutable legal declaration. So we got to look at every word spoken by Jehovah is binding. Every word spoken by Jehovah is binding. 1, is irrevocable. 2, is legally authoritative. 3, everybody follow that. Watch what happens. Because when we look at that, the divine promise cannot be altered or annulled. We got to keep that in mind. So we know it's irrevocable, legally authoritative, and this divine promise cannot be altered or annulled. So as we look at this, we understand it. So this must be achieved through the intended purpose, meaning this. We're going to look at something. In Isaiah chapter 55, verse 11, it says, so shall my word be that go forth out of my mouth, and it shall not return unto me void. It's not going to come back void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper into the thing whereto I send it. That's key. Looking at Isaiah 46:10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning, bingo, in the ancient times, that the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand clear, and I will do all my pleasure, because it ain't going to come back void, calling the ravious birds from the east, that man that executeth my counsel from a far country, yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have proposed it, I will also do it. This is clear. Clear instructions on what he's saying he's going to do. These are prophecies that he's going to bring, and they're going to come to pass. So Jehovah's provision, this realm in Isaac place, this was prophetically what you can actually look at. It prefigures a complete, ultimate fulfillment of his covenant, which was a sacrifice of his only begotten son, establishing the divine justice in this eternal balance. So meaning this, interest into Jehovah's eternal kingdom. We got to keep this in mind. The interest into Jehovah's eternal house, we have to remember, 1, is neither casual nor unconditional. It's neither casual nor unconditional. It's a refining inspection of Jehovah. He thoroughly examines every soul approaching his gates. Every soul approaching his gates in a seeking obedience. Listen, we have to look at all citations. All citations, we can't leave nothing unturned, because if we leave something unturned, then we can actually miss the mark. Can't miss the mark. We got to stay on the mark. Psalms 15, verse 1, it tells us, it says, the Lord, says, Spirit of God, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who's going to abide there? We got to see this and understand what's happening here. Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? Who? Who is going to do this? He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness. We should have got that. We should have got that. He who walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness. Now we clear, but watch what happens. He speaketh truth in his heart. This is what each and every one of us need to be doing. Each and every one of us need to be making sure, as we trying to get in this house, each and every one of us need to be making sure that we are doing this. Let's look at something. Let's pull some more things to get this a little bit closer to where we can get close to it. We're going to see this in Isaiah, looking at 66 verse 2. We're going to see this here. 66:2, we're going to see something. It says, and all the Gentiles, so all the people of the earth. Everybody follow me? All the Gentiles, everybody upon this earth shall see thy righteousness. I want to make sure everybody understood what he just said there. Please understand what he just said there. All the Gentiles. So everybody who's not of Israel should see that righteousness. Not sitting out there standing on the corner talking trash. Not sitting there trying to belittle people and telling them you're going to be in the kingdom doing something differently. Y'all going to be my servants. Y'all going to be doing this. They should see your righteousness. In all kings thy glory. So all these rulers there, they still going to see your glory, and thou shalt call upon a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Exactly the point. But are we doing this? That's the key. Are we doing this? Let's look at something. Let's look at Revelation chapter 22, picking it up at verse 14. It says this, and it's pretty clear. It says, blessed, wisdom is given are they. Wisdom is given are they. Blessed are they. Wisdom is given are they that do his commandments. Are we doing them? You're here at the house of Jehovah. Are you doing them? If you're here at the house of Jehovah, don't say blessed is you and you only going to pick and choose what you're going to follow. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter into the gates into the city. This is the only way you're going to get into the house of Jehovah. That's it. You're not getting in there no other, well, I don't have to do it this way. I can find my own way. I'm going to tell you what, I can do it a whole nother way. I'm going to tell you what, it's a whole bunch of ways to get into this kingdom. Are you serious? Are you serious? See, because he tells you more right here. He said, for all without who ain't blessed with that knowledge, you're dogs. You're dogs. It ain't saying you can kind of be like a dog. No, you're a dog. A dog. Dude, my family, they ain't following all the laws in there, but man, they ain't dog. The Bible said they're a dog. Well, man, my family, they trying to come around. Okay, blessed are they that do his commandments. He ain't saying that do some of them that do his commandments. And if we without, you're a dog. You're a sorcerer, you're a whoremonger, you're a murderer and an idolater, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. That's who it is. We stand together in this sacred moment. Let us willingly, each and every one of us, we need to say something before we can go into this area to start learning seriously. We need to take this moment right now. I'm speaking right now. I want you to cast aside all your worldly achievements, every one of them. And when you done cast it aside, then you say, all right, you clean your feet off and come on in the first part of this house. But if you don't, bye. This channel goes up and down. When you done got that filth, you put You put all that stuff aside. All your worldly achievements, fading crowns, anything that can burn in the fire, remove it. These temporary acclaims in order to embrace Jehovah's eternal covenant becomes this refining vessel to purify by his authoritative word is what's going to happen today. This assembly here marks the beginning of this spiritual elimination in all short-lived, profane elements of this world that we live. So ultimately, we're looking at something. And they say, what is that? But God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. This serves, again, as this constitutional cornerstone, legally and spiritually determining this eternal citizenship within Jehovah's kingdom. So only those who are willingly to submit to Jehovah's meticulous inspection. Are you ready? Embrace his substitutionary atonement that we just read. in this consistency to walk in obedience. We should dwell in this eternal holy house. So let this lesson unmistakably be very clear to you. To enter into this sacred dwelling, that it demands acceptance of this divine inspection, yielding fully the sanctification of this embodiment to transform life, and to divine your boundless love and your solemn, irrevocable promise. To what? I repeat it. Once you transform this life by his boundless love and solemn, irrevocable. People say, now I know a lot of people don't like that word. Once you sit there and you say you want to, I tell you what, well, now I'm gonna do this openly. I'm gonna do this openly. I'm not gonna put it in. I'm not gonna put in what you call it. I'm not gonna put it a poll. I'm gonna say it here. All that was baptized over here, they ain't, if you baptize somewhere else, I ain't talking to you. I'm talking about the ones who are baptized under me. All the ones who are baptized here, I just want you to put B. Just put B. All you got to do is put B there. I know we're going to catch a couple of liars in there, but just put B in there. If you was baptized here, I want to make sure you come real close to understanding this. We got a lot of B's popping up. But if you are baptized here, let me tell you what we all into. You too, Elder? Me too. We all sitting there. So let me tell you what we did. It's a good thing, but I'm just letting you know what we did. So we embodied this transformed life, and we accepted Jehovah. So we accepted that. So we had this boundless love. This in its solemn. And let me tell you a secret. It's irrevocable. Because it's not, it comes with a consequence. But it's irrevocable promise of redemption. Just letting you know. Really? Yeah, just letting you know. It's irrevocable. Exodus, looking at 21, looking at 23. Let's look at something. 21, 23, we're going to pick up this citation. We're going to understand this law. It says, including if any mischief follow, thou shalt give a what? A life for a life. Everybody write that in there. Life for a life. Everybody put that in there under your own name. So if any mischief follow, life for a life. All you got to do is just put in there life for a life. Just put that in your thing. Make sure your name is right there. Yeah, exactly, Sister Monica. Life for Monica Hall. Life for. That's all I want you. Life for a life. We clearly getting this understanding. A life for a life. Why? Because that's what's getting ready to go on. It says, and if any mischief follow, then shalt thou give a life for a life, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for a foot. Oh, that's interesting now. Now it's getting interesting. Now it's getting interesting. We got to understand this law of substitute. We need to understand law of substitute. The principle, a life for a life, is deeply rooted in Jehovah's justice, this atonement, this spiritual obligation. This law is not just about retribution, but it's about restoring divine balance. It's changing something that's corrupt for something pure, for replacing the fallen nature with righteous nature. So the ram's death was not arbitrary. Get off of that. Throw that out the way. The lamb's death, that ram's death, was not arbitrary. It was to fulfill a divine law. The ways of Jehovah are higher than our ways, meaning man. Actually, let me show it to you just to prove the point. I'm going to show this to you so we can prove the point in Isaiah chapter 55. Just to prove the point to where we're going to start getting some real good spiritual understanding here. And he tells us this in Isaiah 55. We're going to pick it up at verse 8. And he tells us, it says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are my ways your ways, said the Lord. Your way ain't my way. He's telling us right up front, your way ain't my way. Your thought ain't my thoughts. Well, I thought I can do it that way. No, my thought, not your thought. Well, I thought I can do it. No, your thoughts are not my thoughts. That's what he's making clear to us. We trying to get in this house. And we got to make an eternal covenant with him. And he's telling us, the way you trying to do it ain't the way I want you to do it. Because my way is my way. Your way is your way. And he says, and for comparing the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and your thoughts than your thoughts, my thoughts than your thoughts. We should have got that. So if anyone, the ways of flesh were permitted to multiply, I want you to pay real close attention to me. Real close attention, because it's going to start getting real kind of hairy here. So this, we got to keep in mind. If it was permitted, what Abraham did, and he was successful in doing it, please pay close attention to what I'm saying, because if not, you're going to get lost. If that was permitted, if flesh was permitted to multiply endlessly, like the sands upon the seashore, understand what I'm saying? And the stars scattered across the heavens, as numerous as Abraham's descendants according to the flesh. Actually, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to pull this out. Let's look at something. I want to show you something in Romans. Because I want you to really pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say. It says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. This is what I want. Then, if that's true, that way he's going to multiply them of the flesh, then sin will remain eternally unbroken, continually with this relentless cycle of rebellion, corruption, and spiritual death. This carnal nature will bind the children of Israel indefinitely, shackling them to this perpetual separation from Jehovah. Now you get the point of this holiness and pureness. Now you get the point. See, Jehovah, boundless wisdom, is in this, what we're going to use, what it is, this profound mercy now, establishes this divine immutable principle, the truth, the tone, which requires this sacred exchange. This life that's ensnared by sin must be willing to surrender so the life of the righteous, sanctified and pure can be received. Are you with me? I want you to stay with me on it, just like I said. So this transformative exchange, this inseparable link of this heavenly promise, now, once it's articulated clearly, we can see over here what he's talking about. Now it says, neither they are the seed of Abraham are they children, but in Isaac shall the seed be called. What? That is, they which are the children of the flesh, what? They are not the children of God. Bingo. But the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Let's tear some of this down, because this divine, this covenant is not established through fleshly descent. It's not established through fleshly descent. It only gives you the required to where you know you're coming through Jacob. That's the only part that we got that's clear. But through the promised seed, this eternal word is coming through the eternal word, that promised seed, that eternal word. Say it with me, that eternal word. So only through this unwavering obedience to the voice of God that we just went through, then the faith of adherence, and then the precepts of these divine instruction, his word, Jehovah can humbly. And what we see now, we can sit there and see how Israel can even teach and break free from the bondage of flesh and embrace the everlasting inheritance of this spiritual life in righteousness. We're clear. So Abraham, being called the father of many nations, was willing to surrender his seed, not to multiplication of the flesh, but it was the multiplication unto Jehovah's righteousness. That was a switch up. That's what we had to understand. His willingness was to offer up Isaac, but it wasn't. It was offering up Isaac was not an act of faith, but it was a demonstration of obedience to Jehovah's transcendent natural order. Keep all this in mind. So, as being said, the sands of the sea, the stars of heaven, are not to be multiplied in flesh, but in spirit. Yeah, you follow me? I'll say it again. The sands of the sea and the stars of heaven are not to be multiplied in flesh, but in spirit, after the likeness of Jehovah's righteousness. So we're looking at this. So when Abraham understood that he was not sparing Isaac, he was exchanging him for the ram that was caught in the thickets. It was not a last-minute provision, but it was a schoolmaster of visual similitude that Jehovah's divine atonement, that how it can come through. It's clear, right up front. Watch what happens. Let's look at something. Let's go back over here. Let's look at something. In Genesis 22:13. Let's go back here. In 22:13, we breaking this down again, and Abraham lifted up his eyes, lifted up understanding, and looked and behold, behind him. Oh boy, that's deep. Behind him, a ram caught. So he remembered it was a ram behind him. We're gonna get into that a little bit deeper later, because he remembered that was behind him was a ram caught in the thickets, and by the horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead in the place of his son. Pretty profound thing. So Isaac was not spared without a price. I want you to put that down there. Write that on your notes. Isaac was not spared without a price. Cattle upon 1,000 hills belongs to God. So Isaac was not spared without a price. His life was substituted by the ram, fulfilling the principle, life for life. Everybody follow me? So this principle establishes that the atonement was not an act of mere mercy, but it was divine justice. A life must be given to satisfy the requirements of righteousness. We're going to keep going deeper. We're going to keep going deeper. The ram caught in the thickets represents the binding of sin upon the innocent. But then you still sit there and see, it was not Isaac who was bound for the sacrifice, but it was the chosen in his place, the one who appointed to bear the weight of atonement. Let's look at something. Let me break it down some more. I want to make sure we all understand this all together. The life, the given life, must satisfy the requirements of righteousness through substitution. I'm going to say it again. The given life must satisfy the requirements of righteousness through substitution, meaning the life must be exchanged through the substitutionary offering to satisfy the requirement of righteousness, which is transferred of judgment. So when we're looking at judgment upon the guilty is now transferred to the innocent, leading to atonement, because this represents the atonement to achieve when the innocent bears the judgment of the guilty. People sitting there like, huh? Don't worry about it. We're going to work it out. Just like I say, we at the house of Jehovah right now, so we're going to work all this out. So we got to understand something. We're going to look at a Hebraist method, which I'm going to be using. I'm going to use a Hebraist method, which I'm going to use, to which we do this in biblical law and when I was doing this. So we got to look at this Hebraist method according to the scriptures, meaning this. And you guys can write this down. If need be, I'll put it up on the board. But if there is no substitution, I'm going to say this pretty slow. If there is no substitution, then the required for righteousness remains unsatisfied. Everybody follow me? If there is no substitution, then the requirement of righteousness remains unsatisfied, making now salvation impossible. You follow me? I can write it down if y'all want me to. Actually, I'm gonna tell you what. Let me put this. Let me put this there. Let me write it down. Let me write it down. So let me put this there. 1 second. Let me put it there. Why is that? Okay. Okay, so what I'm saying is there's no sub. Oh, dang. Okay, 1 second. TRT. 1 second. SUB. STITUTION. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I don't know why it's showing wrong. Okay. Okay, so now let me do this. Righteousness remains on STIS. And actually, unsatisfied. I want to do that. Let me put that back. Unsatisfied. SAT. Unsatisfied. Okay. So if there's no substitution, then the requirements of righteousness remains unsatisfied, making salvation impossible. That's what I'm showing you. That now it becomes impossible. So we got to keep that in mind. So hopefully you guys can make your own thing of that. Because now if the judgment is not transferred, then the atonement cannot be fulfilled. Understand what I'm saying? So if the judgment is not transferred, then the atonement cannot be fulfilled, leaving the guilty condemned. The same we're looking at how law works. We're looking at how the law works on what's going on how God actually set this up. That's what we're doing. For the righteousness to be achieved. So for righteousness to be achieved, then an innocent life, clearly get what I'm saying, according to law in Scripture, because he did it. That's why he gave his only begotten son. To achieve this, an innocent life must bear judgment, which is precisely what JEHOVAH did as a substitutionary atonement. For God so loved the world, gave his only begotten son. That's what happened. Hopefully everybody gets that. So this, now you can see this confirms that the atonement is not about sparing life, but it's about substitution. It's about substitution. This requirement of righteousness is satisfied only when a life is given in the place of another. So Abraham understood this principle now. So now he can sacrifice the ram in the place of Isaac, symbolizing the greater atonement to come, which we see as the ultimate fulfillment of substitutionary atonement in JEHOVAH's divine sacrifice here. That was the whole catch. That's what was happening here. Let's see something. Let's pull a little bit more. Let's go a little bit deeper here. Actually, I use this one here. We're going to look at 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians, we're going to look at 5:21. 2 Corinthians 5:21. Watch how he says it. It says, "For he have made him to be sin for us. So the Father, God so loved the world, God, the Father, Yahweh, he so loved the world that he had made him, who? JEHOVAH, his word, sin for us, who knew no sin. His word don't know no sin. That we might be made the righteousness of God in him." Everybody catch that? Now we're seeing how this is playing out. Now we should have caught that. Let's look at another citation real quick. Wisdom of Solomon, we're going to look at this. Wisdom of Solomon, looking at 4 and picking it up at verse 16. He's going to say something that's real clear. It says, "Thus the righteous that is dead," watch how clear this is. This is really clear. Really, really, really clear. Now watch that. It says, "Thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living. In youth that is soon perfected in many years, in old age of the unrighteous." This really should have caught us up. Meaning the principle magnifies the weight of substitution. meaning the innocent bears the judgment of the guilty. That's why they're dead. And they're dead to the world. Let's take it a little bit closer as we're sitting there doing something. As many of us, we chose to follow the Most High. We chose to follow Jehovah. So as we chose to follow him and do something, we didn't change, something against people. We changed our lives. If everybody agrees, just put I. If you agree, just put I. You didn't change and you walking around so holified and dignified. You changed your life. You decide to follow Jehovah. Not against nobody, not doing anything to anybody, just changed your life. That's it. So now people go against you. Now you're dead to them. The substitution. So the innocent bears the judgment of the guilty, so that the condemned still living. So the ones who are still living according to the world, they still lie. But when Abraham was given this divine revelation, he can kill the ram because he understood the meaning of substitution. He understood that it was a schoolmaster. It was a shadow of the greater atonement to come. It wasn't about preserving Isaac's physical life, but it was about establishing this eternal principle. A sinful life must be exchanged for righteous living. That's what he was doing. That's what he was doing. This exchange, death for life, corruption for purity, flesh for spirit. So Isaac's life was not merely spared, but it was transformed through the sacrifice that took his place. So this divine pattern of Jehovah's righteousness, those who surrender their sinful nature, meaning the flesh, technically, in obedience to him will receive life through Christ, not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit, multiplying righteousness of Jehovah as the stars of the sea and the sands of the sea and the stars of the heavens. You see how that works? Real straightforward. Real straightforward. Let's look at something. I want to show you something real interesting. Really interesting. It's still on the same thing, but it's really interesting. In Romans, looking at 12 chapter 1, watch 12:1, watch this. So what it says. Really a trip. And it says, I beseech thee, therefore, brother, now watch how clear Paul knows law. Watch how clear Paul knows law. And this is what I got to pound in all of us. We got to make sure we understand this. And it says, I beseech thee, therefore, brother, by the mercies of God. So, brethren, talking about all of us. So I beseech thee, therefore, brother, all of us. But who? All of us, by the mercies of God, that ye present your body as a living sacrifice. So you got to present your body as a sacrifice, meaning you willing to give up your life and let Christ come in you and then live through you. And it got to be wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So now you got to kill yourself to the ways of the world. That's what happened. But watch this. And be not conformed to this world. So we not conformed to the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That's what happens. You see how this working? Everybody should see how this working now. So the law, life for life, requires this worldly living has to be exchanged for godly living. It's not just about physical punishment, but it's about spiritual transactions. The old life of sin must die, and the new life of righteousness must take its place. Technically what happens. Everybody should get that. Everybody should get that's what I'm doing. But when we're looking at breaking down this same thing, we're going to go back over here. Let's look at this. We got to go back over here in Exodus 21. We're going to go right back to 23. And it says, if any mischief follow, thou shalt give a life for a life. Exactly. And it tells you, first thing we look at is eye for an eye. Everybody know what that is. But we need to spiritually understand it. We need to spiritually understand this. We're not at the lost sheep of Israel. We're at the house of Jehovah. We're at the gate, sitting down, trying to get in. So we have to learn this. We have to learn what we must do. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for a foot. You have to understand that. So, eye for an eye, understanding for understanding. If any mischief follow, thou should give a life for life. So we got to give an understanding up for understanding to get. Everybody following? For us to trade this life, we got to get this understanding and give up one. And we only got one. We only know how to live according to the flesh. But we got to be willing to give it up for the one according to the Spirit. So if you want to come into the house, you got to leave that stuff outside. You got to give up the one that you do of the flesh and do the one for the Spirit. So given this principle, wisdom and understanding must be exchanged from that exchange, but that carnal wisdom must be sacrificed to receive the divine understanding, following the biblical principles or laws of substitution. One must be given up to gain the other. You can't have them both. You can't have both. That's impossible. Let's look at something. I want to show you something. We're going to get this, and we're going to pull all this together. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. Everybody okay? As long as everybody doing good, everybody okay? Just say aye if you're doing okay. Cause we got to push through. And we're looking at this, and it says, the eye of the body is, the light of the body is the eye. The light of the body is the eye. We got to give that. We got to give one up for the other. If therefore the eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. But we need to understand this. We need to understand this spiritually, not the other way. Not the other way, but we got to understand this. So wisdom of the light of the body, the one eye, understanding. So singularly, when we focus on the divine wisdom, the whole body is of light. This now, it requires replacing carnal understanding with divine wisdom. In this process, we must understand that following the direct exchange, where the exchange represents the act of sacrificing carnal wisdom for divine understanding, replacing carnal for spiritual. If no exchange takes place, then spiritual understanding cannot be gained. Meaning one who remains in spiritual blindly. So if one remains while you have removed false doctrines, have you did that? Most of us haven't. Most of us haven't did this. We haven't removed false doctrines. We got to remove those. So one remain why you need to remove false doctrines, how you can gain the one that you're looking for. So understanding that the mustard seed kept, the spiritual understanding, it will not be given. So if you kept just the piece of a mustard seed, make sure you go back out and throw it outside. Get rid of it. If you kept the knowledge of carnal understanding just of a mustard seed, I don't care what it was, go back and throw it outside. Get rid of it. You can't come in. If you had just of a mustard seed thought, if you used to sit there and twinkle your toes and your hand itches and you spit backwards and you split poles and you do all these crazy things. Same thing was Deacon Hicks was going through on Bible therapy. Go back and throw it out. Just excuse yourself real quick and throw it out and just come right back. Just excuse yourself, and we might think you're going to the restroom. Just excuse yourself, get rid of it, and come back. Don't do like we normally do. Just turn around and spit it out, and like you spitting it on shit. No, just excuse yourself, throw it out, come back. Only when the full exchange occurs is we can fully understand it was given only. Divine wisdom leads to complete transformation, which fills the body with light. So over time, as one consistently replaces worldly wisdom with divine wisdom, transforms occurs in accumulation of understanding. So understanding is enlightenment. Understanding the eye. If you cling to worldly wisdom, follow me. If you cling to worldly wisdom, then the spiritual and divine wisdom cannot grow. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. We're all sitting there. We're all sitting here right in the field, right at the door. You can see it. You can see the door. If you exchange this thought and you do a full exchange happens, then worldly wisdom is removed. Not even a mustard seed of it is there. Then you can fully be enlightened. Everybody understand that? Then you can fully be enlightened. That's the catch. That's the whole part of what's going on. This happens over time. It don't happen in an instant. It happens over time. The more understanding accumulates, the brighter the body gets and fills with life. Let's look at something. I want to show you something. Show you, because people think it's just automatically, oh, boom, it's just that. No, that's not true. Let's look at something. We're going to see this salutation over here in Luke and look at 2:52. Let's look at something. And it's telling us about Yahushua, who was a prophet. But watch when he was a kid. It says, in Jesus, in Yahushua, he increased in wisdom and stature. He increased. So he didn't just come and everything's there. He increased. It would happen over time. It just didn't happen right then. It happened over time. Over time. So don't think that you just, boom, automatically, I know everything. No, that's not the truth. It happens over time. He increased in wisdom and stature. So we have to understand that. Biblical law, eye for an eye, exchange for exchange, understanding for understanding. We must give up carnal perception to gain divine wisdom. It has to happen. So if you hold on to blindness, you cannot receive light. If you hold on to blindness, you cannot receive light. It's impossible. One must give up this carnal perception to gain divine wisdom, and you have to be doing this. Remember what it said in Matthew chapter 6:22. It says, the light of the body is the eye. It's the understanding. It's the understanding for you. Come on, people. We don't want to leave nobody behind. We're not here to leave people behind. We're not here to do anything. We're here to make sure we can do what we need to do to get into this kingdom. Search these scriptures high and low. But we got to change one understanding for the other. We can't try to walk in there with two understandings. It's impossible because he's not going to give up one. The light of the body is the eye, it's the understanding. And if you try to walk in there and you got just an inkling of worldly understanding, he ain't going to let you in. If you got an inkling of understanding, he's not going to. And this is the same thing as if anybody's seen a mustard seed, just say I. If anybody's seen a mustard seed, just say I. And then if you haven't ever seen one, I recommend people to go to the I believe you can get them at like Lowe's or Home Depot. I believe you can go there. If you have never seen one, and then if they have them open, you can sit there and you can show it. You can look at it, or you can show it to your children, and show it to them, to where they can see a mustard seed, because they need to see the mustard seed. Because if you got that much sin, you got that much world in you, just that much world still in you. Because I see some people saying they've never seen it. So I beg you to go to one of those places. And don't pull it up on YouTube, Google. Don't pull it up on Google somewhere. I want you to physically go see it. Physically go look at it. The reason why I want you to see how small this mustard seed is against your body. If it costs about $1 to get it, just buy the pack up. But all I want you to do is get that one mustard seed out. One. Don't get out two of them. One. Why? Because I want you to look at it, put it against your body. Put it against your body, and I want you to look at it in the mirror, and I want you to see against your body. It won't even cover your pinky. It won't even cover your pinky. But I want you to look in the mirror and see if it got that much sin in your body. He ain't switching. He's not switching. He's done. You see this one he's done. You got to exchange it entirely. Worldly understanding going to always bind you to mischief, leads to mischief, and it shows you that. Actually, let's see that in mischief is. Let's see something. Let's go back over here. Let's look at this again. Isaiah, we're going to look at this in 42. Isaiah 42. We're going to pick this up. We're going to look at 18 to 20. Why? Because we got to go through it. We have to look at this. It says here, ye deaf, and look, ye blind, that ye may see. Who is the blind but my servant? Are we servants of God? That's what we claim. We claim to be servants of God. Who is blind but my servants? O deaf as my messengers that I sent? We're deaf. You see these claims he's making about us. Not only about you guys, but he's sitting there making a clear statement against myself and the other messengers. Oh, deaf as my messengers that I've sent. This is a clear rock thrown right at us. Right at us. And we have to accept that as a whole. When any messenger is not doing his work and he's supposed to be listening and teaching and going forth, we still looked at as one body. So if you over here with one body and you sitting back, you eating grapes, he's looking at us as one, as you eating grapes. Yeah, I got to look out because I know Deacon Jonathan, he want to do a teaching on it. I know he's going to do one on it. It says, who is the blind as he that is perfect? Are you serious? As the blind, as the Lord's servant? Seeing many things, but thou art observant not. Opening the ears, but he heareth not. And long as we here on this earth, that's gonna always be on us. No matter what. Why? Because he's judging us as one body. He's gonna take you out one by one, but you just don't stop. You keep moving. You keep moving. This not a union here. He don't have a union where everybody gonna get the same thing no matter what. No, he gonna take you out individually. That's why you got some 30-fold, some 60, some 100-fold. That's why they said. He's not a union. Let's look at something. We'll see this over here in Proverbs, looking at chapter 4, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 7. Pick this up and we're gonna look at it real close. It says, wisdom is the principal thing. Bingo. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, for that reason, get wisdom. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. That's again why we're here. That's again why we're here. To learn how to exchange carnal wisdom, blindness. Carnal wisdom is blindness. Carnal wisdom is blindness. To receive JEHOVAH's divine understanding, we got to be willing to give that up. We got to be understanding to give that up. But he says something. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, tooth for a tooth, tooth for a tooth. Tooth for a tooth. If any mischief follow, then thou shalt give a life for a life, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Spiritual principle, tooth for a tooth. Deeply embedded back in here again. We can't even get around it. We wanna get in that house. I want eternity. That's something I deeply want. I want eternity. But this here reveals the sacred truth concerning the divine requirements of exchange. So when we looking to receive JEHOVAH eternal spiritual nourishment, we must be willingly to surrender to agony. We got to be willing to surrender to bitterness and suffering inherent these worldly existence that we see here. These profound spiritual trades, tokens to complete this relinquishment of this carnal for the divine, exchanging earthly despair for heavenly fulfillment. So when we're looking at this spiritual tooth, this tooth is it's a token of this eternal affliction that's caused of this attachment of flesh. Shows about this rage, this despair, this famine, emotional pain. Let me bring us a little bit closer. Let's bring it a little bit closer where we can get it. We'll see this over in Lamentations 3:16. It says, "He had broken my teeth with gravel stones, and had covered me with ashes." This tooth is the eternal affliction caused by the attachment of flesh. Powerfully expressed here. Spiritually speaking of the tooth, it's telling us about the intense, eternal anguish, frustration, bitterness, spiritual famine, caused by the reliance upon these worldly systems of carnal pursuits. See, they describe, I'm talking about so vivid, it's unreal. You see it right there in 3:16. So the consequences of attachment to worldly injustice and unrighteousness is deep-seated spiritual affliction, this state of emotional and spiritual starvation that's marked by, the key thing is despair. Jehovah has he prepared us. He prepared divine remedy. The soul willing to yield to its worldly pains. Broken tooth. Broken teeth. Rage, famine, despair, bitterness. Spiritually renewed and receiving this return. Let me see what you should be using with your teeth. Let's look at something. We're going to see this over in John, and picking up at John chapter 6, verse 35. And you see this here. In Yahushua, and Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that come to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. It's an interesting statement. Very interesting statement. But we know that's Christ in him that's speaking this. Showing you this eternal word which satisfies spiritual hunger. This eternal word that it satisfies spiritual hunger. It brings in lasting contentment. But it depicts something. This pain that we got to go through. Let's look at this. We'll see this over in 2nd Hebraist, and we'll see this a little bit clearer. Then we can actually end up talking about it. In 2nd Hebraist, chapter 7, picking up at verse 12, it says, Then were the interests of this world made narrow, full of sorrow, travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. Well, right there. This emphasizes the reality of the journey through our worldly life. What's going to happen? Very painful, full of perils and evil. Are you everybody ready? They prepared for that. See, when we're looking at reality, this worldly life of this natural freight and what we're going to go through, sorrows and affliction, reinforcing the necessity for a spiritual exchange. Jehovah has established his divine pathway out of a spiritual famine, though the principle of exchanging worldly affliction of his sustaining spiritual nourishment. To engage fully with this exchange requires a complete release of the anguish, a complete release of the bitterness, and then experience within the worldly existence. Tells you, he's the bread of life. This bread symbolizes Jehovah's eternal truth, his wisdom, which alone can truly satisfy each and every one of our hungers, heal with the bitterness of affliction, and restore our souls from this worldly torment that we have. I want you to think about this and really understand where I'm coming from. As we've been sitting here for a minute going through biblical law, understanding how he's changing things. Worldly truth, we know pain, rage, bitterness, famine is spiritual truth. A famine of that. Anguish of sin, emotional despair. That's what we have to deal with. Spiritual nourishment, the bread of life, Jehovah's wisdom, divine truth, eternal peace, genuine spiritual fulfillment. We've got this exchange factors happening. This exchange factor that happens. Willing to sincerely just surrender a worldly anguish, despair, and suffering in exchange for Jehovah's divine substance. That's the interesting thing. So when we look at this, we get a better understanding. Worldly pains and bitterness completely surrender to Jehovah. This transformation occurs, converting earthly despair into profound spiritual nourishment and renewal. Clinging tightly to worldly affliction prevents transformation. That's controversially going to happen. Many people are going to still cling on to these worldly afflictions. And it's going to prevent your transformation. Trapping the soul within this continuous spiritual famine, bitterness and suffering. This we have to take a better look at that. Understanding this is always going to be a remaining, ongoing transformation. And remaining attached to worldly pains deepens your spiritual suffering over time, intensifying the afflictions. Did you know that? It's an interesting economy. Interesting. The more you hang on to the world, the more you depend on the world, your spiritual suffering over time will always intensify the affliction that happens. People say, what? What? Wait a minute, did I hear him right? Did I hear Elder Johnson right? Your attachments to the world and to the world pains. It depends on spiritual suffering over time. Gonna always intensify. Continuous surrender to your afflictions to Jehovah accumulates spiritual wisdom and divine nourishment, steadily restoring and enriching the soul spiritually to health. Trip, ain't it? This transformative process is progressive, increasing as worldly attachment diminishes, spiritual devotion grows. You see, one got to give up for the other. So long as you increase your worldly attachment, you diminishes your spiritual growth. In the same way, vice versa. The more you decrease your worldly attachments, the more your spiritual attachment grows. One got to be exchanged for the other. Holding on to worldly pains perpetuates spiritual torment. What? Yeah. All what I've been sharing with you is what we're coming up to right now. All this. Holding on to worldly pain perpetuates spiritual torment. Always. Always. We're going to get real close to this. As myself, I have experienced. I have lost loved ones, lost a brother, lost a sister, lost my dad, grandmothers, relatives, countless, lost many. But I'm not foreign to this, as many of you. And I'm saying that to say this. For each and every one, because we have some people that has recently lost loved ones. But as long as you're holding on to worldly pains, those are worldly pains. Worldly pains. You perpetuate spiritual torment. But if you surrender these pains to Jehovah, it invites and endures spiritual nourishment. So true wisdom and peace flourish only when the soul exchanges worldly despair and bitterness, Jehovah's eternal bread of life, fulfilling the spirit with lasting divine contentment. Many people don't understand what I said. But for those who have ears to hear, let them hear. The law and the spiritual law, tooth for a tooth, is always beautifully illustrated in those two profound spiritual liberations by surrendering the inherent suffering of the world, highlighted right there what I kept showing you, right here. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow, travail, but a few in evil, full of perils and very painful. Right there. The soul can partake fully in Jehovah's abundant spiritual nourishment, exemplified through John 6:35. And God said unto them, he said, I'm the bread of life. Hold up a second. I know these things is a problem here. But he said, but look at me. Hold up. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the bread of life. He that cometh to me should never hunger, and he that believeth on me should never thirst. A genuine fulfillment. A genuine fulfillment. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, hand for a hand, hand for a hand. Interesting. Exchanging this hand for a hand. Interesting analogy. But it's right here. It's right in Scripture. We can't even get around it. It's in Scripture. So we have to address it. Exchanging carnal authority for divine power. Exchanging carnal authority for divine power. The spiritual principle of hand for hand embodying the spiritual law of exchanging earthly authority for the supreme power and governance of Jehovah. To fully embrace the divine truth, we must be willing to relinquish our reliance upon personal strength. Personal strength. Control. And worldly power, acknowledging its inherited, its limitations, and it's susceptible to corruption. Everybody understand that? If we relinquish this thing, this worldly power, this personal strength, this control, this worldly thing, the knowledge is inherited with, it's always inherited with limited expectations. It's susceptible always to corruption, always. Human power, just to think about it, human power, if you want to define it in a way, human power, it represents a self-control, it's self-centered, limited to an unimaginably, I'm talking about unable to do anything, but it's corrupt authority given by fleshly desires and ambition, manifest in the impulse of governing one's own lives according to personal will and earthly wisdom. Always. However, divine power, which is the token of Jehovah, his infinite righteous and this internally just authority, it's going to always be characterized by perfect wisdom, absolute sovereignty over all creation. So when you exchanging these factors, determines one's willingness to yield fully, relinquishing personal control, and entrusting their lives in the direction entirely to Jehovah's supreme authority. Now we got something. We can understand the relationship a little bit more clear. Clinging on to one's own hand, relying on fleshly power, leaves each and every one of us always spiritually weakened. Always. We're always going to be bound to limited and temporary strength in worldly resources. Everybody understand that? But to fully surrender in the submission to Jehovah's hands and granted an influx of divine might empowering the individual spiritually, eternally, and perfectly. The divine completeness of surrender directly influences the measure and spiritually empowerment and divine authority granted. So we have to look at this process. This has a spiritual transformation we need. We need this. So let's look at something. If we seek and we want to surrender, this personal control is not surrendered. Just think about that. If one is not willing to really surrender that, they'll remain trapped within this fleshly limitation, and they're going to always be on the other side and facing spiritual corruption, enabling them to experience the true freedom of divine power. It's clear as day. It's right here in front of us. Complete submission to Jehovah results of being guided and empowered by the righteous authority, effectively transforming a follower of Christ's life, the decisions, the actions that they take. But we have to do this completely. So the rate of this extent, we're looking at the spiritual transformation depends on sufficiently upon the individual's ongoing willingness to relinquish the personal life and embrace. It's interesting. Let me show you something. We're going to look at something in Ecclesiastes. We'll see this in 9 and 10. I want you to take your time on this. And it says, "And whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest." I don't know if you caught that. But I'm going to read it again. Whatsoever that power findeth to do, whatever you done found within your power to do it with thy might. Do it with your might. There is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave. Where you going? Worldly power seeks dominance. Always going to lead to corruption and injustice. Divine power is different. Consistently embodies righteousness and it's going to always embody justice, divine order. So true spiritual strength and authority comes only when one's personal control and fleshly might are surrendered entirely to Jehovah's hand. That's the only time it happens. Hand for a hand. Hand for a hand. We should get a hand for a hand. teaching us profoundly the spiritual truth. That's true, profound. The complete sacrifice. Personal, fleshly authority, those who cling stubbornly to their own strength, will always remain spiritual, impoverished, and weak. Always. Always. But then when you always look at the flip side of this, the individual who willingly surrendered their own will and authority to Jehovah receive divine power, justice, guidance, and abundance. That's always going to happen. So true spiritual authority is never self-granted. True spiritual authority is never self-generated. It's never self-granted. It flourishes solely on the power of Jehovah. So through complete submission and transformative surrender is the only way it's going to happen. It's what it is. We had this here where we hand for hand, foot for a foot, foot for a foot, a foot for a foot. Most people didn't know what foot was spiritually, but spiritually means desire. So you got to exchange carnal desires for spiritual direction. I thought you were going to say desire. No, that's the desire. That's the direction. That's why I just want you to understand it. So we got to be willing to exchange carnal desires for spiritual direction or spiritual desires. But it's the direction that he wants you to go. Hopefully everybody is understanding this part. When we're looking at the spiritual principle, on what we're doing, on what we really want to do, it embodies this exchange of the children of Israel in the worldly ambitions that we seek, the sacred pursuits of divine direction illuminated by Jehovah's truth for what we should be seeking all the time. Spiritually, each footstep symbolizes one desire's pursuits and chosen direction in life. To truly embrace the spiritual path, one must willingly surrender worldly inclinations. We have to consciously align our steps with Jehovah's guidance, each and every one of us. So as we look at this, we have to be willing to look at this in a different way. Look at it in a better, different way. And I'm going to try to explain this in best of my ability here. When we're looking at worldly desires, carnal footsteps, we're going to hold it to carnal footsteps, worldly desires, footsteps. So we're looking at this. And it's always going to be a token of unstable pursuits and misguided pathway driven by fleshly impulses. Leads always to confusion, darkness, and always going to lead you to eventually to a spiritual downfall. Everybody follow me? Always. Always to a spiritual downfall. But when you look at these spiritual desires, divine footsteps, it embodies the enlightenment journey guided by divine wisdom, resulting in clarity, stability, righteousness, and fulfillment in Jehovah, always. Again, we have this exchange factor happening. This exchange factor going to keep happening to us. It sends one deliberate choice to abandon worldly pursuits, to fully embrace the divinely lit path provided by the Word of God. Let's look at something. I'm going to still use this at the bottom. Keep that there. We're going to go to Proverbs. Keep this there. We're going to go to Proverbs. We're going to look at 4:26. And I want to grab this one. We're going to look at Psalms 119:5. I want to grab these two. 119, 105. I want them to. Because we want to understand this relationship. And it says, ponder the path of thy feet, thy desires. And let all thy ways be established. You see what he's saying? Turn not thy right hand, don't turn your right power, your power, nor to the left, that left power. Remove thy foot, remove thy desire from evil. You see how clear this is? But most people don't know this is spiritually, but people read it carnally and they just think it's talking about feet and foots. And it's not. It's talking about desires. Actually, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to pull this up. Let's do this. Because I know they're going to put it there, but let's do something. We're going to look at foot. And you see it right there. Foot, desire. Foot, desire. It's telling you it's a desire, not desires, desire. Feet. Feet, we're going to look at feet. Desires. Feet, desires. So we understand this. It's clear. But most people don't understand it spiritually. We have to look at it spiritually. We have to understand the parables that's in here. So when we're looking at this, we get a better understanding on what's happening. Ponder the path of thy feet, of thy desires. And let not thy ways be established, and let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove thy foot, thy desire from evil. This is clear. Psalms 119:5, it makes it even better for it. It says, let thy word, it's saying thy word, meaning Jehovah's word, Jehovah is the word, is thy lamp unto my feet, unto my desires. So the words from the Heavenly Father, his word, the words of Jehovah, is a lamp unto our desires. It's right here. A light unto my path. You see how clear he's making this. This is, I don't know how much clearer we need to get with this. But now we see it. So we need to look at this transformative process that we need to go through. Let's go up here. Let's go back to 19 real quick. The way of the wicked is as darkness, is comparing darkness. They know not at what they stumble. They stumble over anything. And initially, we're looking at aligning our steps with Jehovah direction to bring this progressive spiritual alignment, strength, and unwavering stability. The spiritual transformation, not for the instant, but it's cumulative. Shapes this continual refinement, choices, alignment, to where we can get these deeper understandings. Spiritual journey that we seek. Every footstep, every desire, every decision must be deliberately evaluated against the divine guidance to maintain purity and correctness with our path. So when we see this foot for a foot, it reveals the genuine process in this progress towards spiritual enlightenment that requires this deliberate exchange, abandoning fleshly, misguided pursuits into favor of Jehovah. Clearly illuminates the path, continually surrender and alignment for our desires according to according to the wisdom, ensures our journey is characterized by the stable and clarity and ultimate fulfillment. It's there. Same thing when you look at that kind of cracks me up. We look at the dynamics of spiritual progression. Spiritual progression. That's an interesting set of words. Spiritual progression. The reason I even bring that up, because it's based on what we're doing. Because it's based on spiritual progression is based on a system of Hebraist mathematics. That's why it's so interesting. Let me explain myself a little bit. People will tell you, oh, you know, they say, well, it's true because you can go out there and see them. All the pyramids is, all the blocks are the same size. However, as they are the same size, it still goes up into a point, which makes no sense. So they want to know what kind of mathematics built those pyramids. That's the interesting part. Mathematics, when you look at the Hebraist system, it's not based on numbers, how the pyramids was done. So it's the mathematics lost. No, it's always been there. It's always here. The catch is, they just don't know it. It's always in front of them. So when we look at the spiritual understanding, we look at it, a couple of things. Spiritual mathematics. We want to understand the beautiful part about it. I say, do you know it? Yeah, I always know it. I learned it under Dr. JEHOVAH. It's a simple thing. Straight understanding. It has 3 elements in it. Motion, change, accumulation. What? Motion, change, accumulation. So they beautifully mirror this profound truth, this what we call, and what he always called it, this Hebraist tool. Gathering the mixture that's provided this powerful, symbolic understanding how one spiritual path continually evolves through the deliberate adjustments and alignment with Jehovah's divine will. Motion, change, accumulation. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So I want you to write something down. Get some understanding on this, and we'll be getting into this later. If you don't understand it, please don't ask me in the back. If you, I'm trying to understand, please don't do that, because if you don't understand it, you're not going to understand it even if I explain it to you back there. But I want you to understand a couple of things. Differentiation. You got to understand that. And differentiation comes with continuous correction. Continuous correction. Just as differentiation in writings of the law measured by insubstantiated rate of change, spiritually it symbolizes this ongoing process, this self-examination, correction, this refinement. Each decision, each step requires discernment to correct our course when worldly desires attempt to pull us from Jehovah's righteousness. That's the clarity. You understand what's happening. We have the next one, which is integration. Integration is accumulation of wisdom. Integration, it tells us the accumulation that has this consolidation, this spiritual wisdom, this obedience over time. Just as integration sums incremental changes, consistently applying Jehovah's word, and it accumulates divine wisdom, reinforcing the stable and enlightenment of spiritual path that we seek. Interesting. Then we have the limits defining spiritual destinations. It's almost like doing calculus. It represents the approaching the precise value of destination. Spiritually, it symbolizes the ultimate destiny of one's soul. Rather, eternal life through continuous correction in the alignment, the eventual spiritual decay through persistent deviation over time, our ultimate spiritual trajectory becomes clearer and more defined. In that trajectory, I'm just talking about your path. It now becomes more clear. So when we're looking at equations based in words, it's different. It's clearly defined in spiritual variables. The journey, a pathway each soul undertakes. So as we look at this, divine desires, the righteous alignment, pursues guidance by Jehovah's word and willing, being clarity, stability, and spiritual illumination. So when we look at the worldly desires, carnal deviation, fleshly pursuits leading to confusion, instability, and spiritual decline. So the light of Jehovah's word, the guide, the principle continually illuminates the correct path. So when we look at this in the resistant factor, represents the internal struggles of eternal interpretations that people use, and it's always going to hinder their alignment with righteousness. It's right there in front of us. So we got to always look at the same rate. We got to look at the rate of spiritual correction. We got to understand what it's saying. Responsive and willingly to the Spirit to adapt to divine instruction. So spiritually, our journey can be symbolically represented as a corrective differential equation. This is all I've been saying the entire time. Meaning this, our spiritual progression, our path. Our spiritual progression, our path. I want you to look at this. Understand it. Divine desire is guided by Jehovah's word. Worldly desire is carnal deviation influenced by resistance. Everybody understood what I just said? If not, I can write it out on the board if need be. Spiritual progression, the path. You're going to always equal divine desire, guided by Jehovah's word, minus worldly desire, carnal deviation influenced by resistance. So what we want to do is understand that. So let me see. Let me put that up there. We'll put this up there so we can have it. So just so you can understand it. So spiritual, let's look at it, spiritual progression. And the DI, let me move this over some. Let me see. Okay, now we got it. So that's guided by Jehovah's word, but it's a minus there. That's what I was trying to see how to do it. Yeah. We got worldly. influence. I can spell. Nope, got something wrong though. Got something wrong. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. So spiritual progression, the path, and its divine desire guided by Jehovah's word, minus worldly desires, carnal deviation influenced by resistance. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. So take a screenshot of that and make sure you have it, because this is how we get to better understanding than what we need to do. So switching it back to what we need to do. So understanding this behavior, when guided by the lights of Jehovah's word, and saying if you're guided by the light of Jehovah's word, is diminished or ignored, spiritual correction weakens significantly. And then consequently, what's going to end up happening is pulled into the worldly desire intensifies, causing progression, spiritual decay, and misalignment. That's what's going on. Misalignment. So when we're looking at divine wisdom, obedience, and it accumulates, and we're looking at integration, the path towards righteousness becomes increasingly stable, diminishing the susceptibility of spiritual deviation. So when we're looking at spiritual limit, it represents eternal judgment. A soul that continually refuses correction is inevitably to where it moves irreversible to spiritual ruin. Every time. You can't even get around it now. But the one who humbles and submit, ongoing divine correction, always going to draw clear and closer and clearer and closer and clearer and closer towards eternal righteousness. You can't even get around it at that time. It's going to overtake you. It's going to continually bless you, as it tells you in Deuteronomy 28. So the law of exchange, always going to come down foot for a foot. Always going to be a change for a foot, always. Encapsulates the necessity of exchanging worldly desires for the divine ones. Faithfully walking in Jehovah's righteousness, worldly desires continually can be surrendered. Continually be surrendered. You know, I'm going to sit there and see why that keeps showing. So that's what we want to make sure of. So when we're looking at this as all together as one, I wanted to show you this all as one. Actually, we're going to keep that one there. We're going to go here in Galatians, in 2:20. Now, I want you to pay real close attention on how this is being done, because when we're doing a life for a life, remember this is a transformative process. This is a transformative process. So we're looking at the law of life for life. So this spiritual principle, this true transformation requires surrender. Keep that in mind. It requires this transformation of surrender. This is not just a transaction, it's just the consequences, but a fundamental exchange of nature. So the corruptible must be differentiated, meaning it's really to distinguish something from something else. It has to be differentiated to distinguish something from something else. This also showing that incorruptible must be integrated into our souls and removing corruptible. That's what we said. That's why we're here. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. Not yet I, not yet us. We're not living according to our ways, our flesh, but Christ liveth in me. So we have to change that life for a life. In the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith of the Son of God. Exactly the point. For God so loved the Son. Now you're living by the words of God. who loved me and gave himself for me. That's the point. That's the point of this. This is showing you this incorruptible must be integrated into our souls, removing the corruptibility that's in us. Everybody follow? Everybody follow me? This, I'm showing you the imagery, this one-on-one. This substitution. Where oneself is removed and oneself aligns with Jehovah's righteousness. So it's established. So when we look at this rate, this transformation, it best represents this differential alignment where the state of transition into another over time. Life for life can be expressed in different terms now. Differentiation, to being able to distinguish something from something else. The removal of the old self and refine what is remained. It's clear. Clear. Integration, we have the accumulation of righteousness through obedience to Jehovah. Limit is the eternal destination that transforms us all. So when we set this, carnal desires always is a sinful life. It's automatic. Carnal desires are a sinful life. Righteousness is a life in Jehovah. See, here's what it is. Resistance is the pull of the world, the flesh. We define the transformative in this transformation of biblical in this equation in Scripture. Let me see if I can make this clear. Let's see if we can do this a little bit clear. We're dealing with biblical law. We're trying to make sure everything is clear based on what's going on. In Romans chapter 6, looking at verse 6, let's bring it home a little bit. Actually, I want to go to two places. We're going to look at another one. We're going to look at Colossians. Colossians, bring it in according to law. Bring it in according to law. We're going to look at 3:5. And this will help us. So I want you to look at this. We're crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, we live. Keep that in mind. In 6 and 6, it says, knowing this, that our old man, always alive, is crucified with him. So we dying with Christ. The world don't want him. So they gonna kill him. They don't want you. You crucified with him. And the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. That's the purpose. Colossians 3:5, mortify therefore your members, which are upon the earth. Fornication, uncleanness, indolent, affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness and idolatry. You got to give all this up. We have to give this up to where we can get this new life. Not a little of it, all of it. Not a piece of it, all of it. It can't be, again, what? It can't be one mustard seed, not even the size of a mustard seed of sin there. That's why I say I want everybody to go get it. If you've seen one, cool. But if you want to make sure you do that exercise, go get a mustard seed and just look at it. Put it against your body and look in the mirror and and you can put it on your body and say, I can't have this much sin in me. That'll be the best visual you can have. I'm asking each and every one of you guys to do that. To go and purchase mustard seeds. Take one seed, and get something to stick it and just have it to where it's right there on your chest. and say it can't be that much sin. That much sin cannot be found in you. If that kind of sin, if just the mustard seed of sin is found in you, you'll be rejected. Promise me you'll do that. That I'm asking you to promise me to do. That's where we can sit there and see things better. So when we look at this, we can look at the mapping on what we need to happen. What need to happen? We need to look at the mapping of this. Crucifying the old self, taking the derivative of the sinful desires. So when we look at this crazy life that we was in, Galatians shows us. It's crazy. Because taking this derivative of sinful desires, we see in Galatians, I'm crucified, meaning that old life must be differentiated. Again, meaning distinguished from the new life taken. It must show the difference. It has to show the difference. Meaning the bad that is taken out, leaving only the transformed state that is there. And now you have to fill it with goodness. Now you have to, so if you put, I don't want to get in trouble with the parents. But if we can find something to where they can get, 15, 20, or 30 mustard seeds, and they can put it on their children, something that won't harm their bodies or anything, to where they can put it on there. It won't even hurt if they take it off. They put 30 so mustard seeds on their body. And the adults do it also with the children. And then you look in the mirror and you say, this is all sin. All this is sin. And if we have just these 30 pieces of sin in us, God won't accept us. But, if we take these sins out, we take them off, put them to the side, those are now holes that has to be filled. And you got to fill them with righteousness. Good assignment for the kids. Good assignment for the teenager. Very good assignment for the adults. Very good assignment for the adults. Similar to taking worldly ways and sinful nature lived. Now removing the excess and refining what remains. You got all these holes in you now. All these holes, you're looking like, man, I got all these, dang, I got 100, you might put 100 of them on you. He said, man, I got all these holes on me. You got to fill them. You got to start filling them and accumulating with righteousness. I want to show you something. Let's look at something. Yeah, I want to take you somewhere. Let's look at something. In Psalms 23:3. Psalms 23:3. We're going to look at something. What I was telling you to do, if you guys do it for me. You're seeing it here. We're looking at what the Most High is promising. Not I, JEHOVAH. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake, for his way's sake. That's what he's going to do. So it's necessary that JEHOVAH restores, he renews, he reestablishes, speaking, being led to the path of righteousness, walking in righteousness. So there's necessary process where there's total accumulation of obedience. This fulfillment builds now over time. Eternal limits, The eternal limit equals destination. The eternal limit equals destination. The old self right now is the issue. So if the old self dominates, then the carnal desires, the sinful life, the life of the soul travels different directions where the path of separation from Jehovah. But if righteousness grows, you take those things off of you and you fill it with righteousness. Then the life in the body of Christ, you can plug those holes up with righteousness. It stabilizes to where you can have eternal communion with Jehovah. It's clear. I'm gonna fill those holes. Right now we look like a bunch of shot up, like Bonnie and Clyde. All those shots they got, we just got a whole bunch of holes in us. We want to get rid of those. We want to get rid of those. So the law of life for life is not simply about removing the old self, but it's about replacing it with the spiritual righteousness. So we're taking out the holes, but we want to fill them. We got to plug them back up. We got to plug them up. This is a Hebraist understanding, a biblical law. It mirrors the redemptive complexity of transformation. One must sacrifice a life, a self-mastery in worldly wisdom to gain the life of Jehovah. This transformation process, this exchange, ensuring that those who die in sin live in righteousness, not just a matter of justice, but by a divine principle of redemption. I'm telling you, that's why I say it's a trap. We're looking at that ram caught in the thickets. That ram was caught in the thickets. It tells us that right there. He looked up. Looked behind him and the ram caught in the thickets. It's right here. This serves as this serious, this deep similitude that Jehovah's ultimate substitutionary sacrifice. The thickets, just the thickets itself, represents, we're going to see what it spiritually represents. Curse and sin. So it's the curse of sin is what it's going to do. The thickets ensnared the children of Israel. Let me take it closer to where we can get closer to it. In Genesis, looking at chapter 3, picking up at verse 18, it tells us real clear here. It says, thorns and thistles shall thou bring forth, and thee thou shalt eat. You shall learn of the herb of the field. Thorns and thickets. Thorns and thickets. We can't even get around it. So it's ensnared us, children of Israel. But you're here. Now you get knowledge. So this ram's entrapment prefigures Jehovah's binding judgment through the vessels of Yahushua, of Adam. Of Adam, we're talking about a male and a female. So we know what we got to bore these sins. Let's take it closer to where we can get close to it and understand it all together. In Amos chapter 3, picking it up at verse 1 and 2. He said, hear the word of the Lord. Hear the word of the Spirit of God has spoken against you, O children of Israel. All who's Israel, just put I in the chat. All who's of the flesh of Jacob, just put I in the chat. That's all you got to do. If you have him, you just put I in the chat. It's this simple. And as you putting those eyes in there, I want you to understand what you're doing. He's making a clear statement to each and every one of us. He says, hear the word of the Lord. I have spoken against you. The Spirit of God has spoken against you, O children of Israel. Not against some of us, against the whole family which brought you up out of the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known all the families of the earth. Therefore, for that reason, I will punish you for all your iniquities. You see, so we don't have no little simple thing. We have a problem. We have upset the most powerful thing ever known, God. There. You see it. So this exchange of bondage for redemption can be now analyzed through a method again, through differentiation. We have to remember differentiation. We have to distinguish something from something else. We have to distinguish something from something else. The exchange of this bondage, the case of removal of sin, the integration, the accumulation of righteousness limits the approaching of this divine fulfillment. We have to do. So let's look at this spiritual mapping that we need to take on. We have to. We have to do this. Redemptive substitution over time. Redemptive substitution over time. This is the process of atonement. Follow me. This is the process of atonement. We got sin accumulation. Sin accumulation. Those little seeds I'm asking you guys to put all over, you're going to see those sin accumulation that's on our bodies. I'm asking each and every one to do it. Do me that favor so you can see a visual of it. Sin accumulation. This is all man entrapment and transgression, even the ones who not part of Israel, but here to learn with Israel. Looking to be outside the gates in eternity with Israel. I want you to do the same thing. All you ones, from Japhet, from Ham, I want you to do the same identical thing. All sins that you committed, that you have learned over here, and you know those are sins, you put a seed up on your body. Those sins accumulations now all over your body. I want you to see it. I want you to physically see it. You see what it says up here? It says, thorns and thistles shall thou bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat. You shall learn of the herb of the field. So when we're looking at this Jehovah's entanglement of judgment, we got to look at this life transformation through substitution. We have to look at it. We have to take those off and substitute them. Don't sit there and say, I can take all 30 of them off and I'm good. No, don't get in that bold-faced lie. Because if you take off 30 of them, you know good and well you ain't going to get rid of 30 of those sins. You might get rid of one. So you need to be honest with yourself. Don't come back, I put on 60, I took all 60 and now I'm good. No, I tell you telling a bold-faced lie. You didn't put on 60 of them, you took off 60, I guarantee you still got about 59 or 59 and a half of them that you still ain't got rid of. I know some people, some of y'all might be part of Israel, but still kin to Trump. I never lie. I don't lie to nobody. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you lie. You lie. It's the truth. No, it's not the truth. You lying. So when we use this formula to understand what we're doing, let's look at something. In John chapter 3 and 30, Oh shoot! I didn't know this time was this time. I got this. This cat didn't call me. Let me get this out, and we'll move forward. So what got to happen is, as you moving those seeds off, you're moving that seed, and it's telling you, he must increase. Jehovah must increase, and I of the flesh must decrease. Y'all follow it? The redemptive work of Jehovah must increase, and the burdens of sin must decrease. So the ram's entrapment signifies the total binding, showing no escape without divine intervention. So we see this. We see this clearly here. We can't get around it. And this cat didn't. This cat done caught me. This cat caught me cold-blooded. I didn't even know it was this time. And y'all wasn't gonna even tell me either. That's okay. That's all right. So we got to end it here. So because we got to go in the back, we got some stuff, some business with the Passover, and with these brothers getting ready to come up to teach. So we're gonna end here. And we're going to pick this up next week. But we do appreciate each and every one. And the same as what we were saying for this Passover. We taking in the funds for the room. So not now, but later. Not now, but later after Sabbath. We're looking for people to fulfill that. So because we only got about 22 people only put in for it so far. But we know it's many more. But I'm just saying you can now send it over to where we can take care of it, and then we'll be taking that on in Zoom, as well as we'll be getting updates back there. But we do appreciate that each and every person that came over, and then we will be having some new brothers coming up. So we're gonna be having teachings, which I'm gonna be sharing. Some will be coming on during the day, as well as we had the main teachers that still doing during the week. They'll still be doing them in the evening. But I want to thank each and every one of them brothers that they coming up to this plate. And the same thing is they should be in the back today. And as I said, we got these new teachers coming up. One, he was gonna get in trouble. The Most High was gonna tell him a new one, and that was Brother Barrett. But Brother Barrett, he been putting in work. And Brother Barrett, you guys will hear Brother Barrett on tomorrow. We got Brother Ned, Brother Tremaine, and Brother Edwin. These 4 brothers is moving forward. They're coming out to the field to help us on the field on a weekly basis. So I appreciate them for what they do and what they're going to be doing. So with that, we're going to get ready to end here. And just letting you know that we're going to have information for the Passover is in the back. We're going to be moving forward with that. So as we continue to move forward, you can see the link to get into the Zoom. And I say currently until we meet again next week. Hopefully this cat won't catch me. I thought I would have got past this one. But I say I didn't. So we're going to move forward on it. So until we meet again, to get more in on this John 3:16, I say to you, each and every one of you guys, Shalom.